Hello and welcome to Fairy Tale Friday, reading from my childhood book of Grimm's Fairy Tales. And yes, it does always crack me up that this book is older than some of my viewers. This week, I'm reading Mother Holly. Let me know in the comments down below if you pronounce her name differently. There was once a widow who had 2 daughters, one of whom was beautiful and industrious, and the other ugly and lazy. She showed much more love, however, for the ugly one, because she was her own daughter, but she made the other do all the hard work and live like a kitchen maid. The poor girl was forced out daily on the high road, and had to sit by a well and spin till the blood ran from her fingers. I'm starting to see a pattern here. We either have a widow or a widower. We have siblings where there's issues, and some of them are not so bright. But let's see what happens in this story. Okay, and the other is we've got these step monsters, because obviously in this story, the one daughter must have been the husbands who have passed on from another marriage. No wonder step-parents get such a bad rap. Once it happened that her spindle became marked with blood, so kneeling down by the well, she tried to wash it off, but unhappily, it fell out of her hands into the water. She ran crying to her stepmother and told her misfortune, but her stepmother scolded her sharply and at last was so merciless as to say, "Since you've let your spindle fall in, you must yourself fetch it out again." Then the girl went back to the well, not knowing what to do, and in her distress of mind, she jumped into the well to fetch the spindle out. Really? She lost all consciousness. No kidding. And when she came to herself again, she was in a beautiful meadow where the sun was shining and many thousands of flowers were blooming around her. She got up and walked along till she came to a baker's, where the oven was full of bread, and the bread cried out, draw me out, or I shall be burned. I've been baked long enough." So she went up, and taking the bread peel, drew out one loaf after the other. Then she walked on further and came to an apple tree, hung thick with fruit, and which exclaimed, shake me, my apples are all quite ripe." So she shook the tree till all the apples fell down like rain, and when none were left on the tree, she gathered them all together in a heap and went further. At last she came to a cottage, out of which peeped an old woman, who had such very large teeth that the girl was frightened and started to run away. The old woman, however, called to her, saying, "What are you afraid of, my child? Stay with me. If you will put all things in order in my house, all shall go well with you. Only you must take care that you make my bed well, and shake it tremendously so that the feathers fly. Then it snows upon earth. I am Mother Holly." As the old woman spoke so kindly, the girl took courage and consented to engage in her service. Now she attended to everything to the satisfaction of her mistress, and also shook the bed so industriously that the feathers blew down like flakes of snow. Therefore her life was a happy one, and there were no angry words, and she had roast or boiled meat every day. The word mistress is again an example of how language has changed and the difference between the old Grimm's fairy tales, as in meaning your employer, not what, well, let's just say certain groups of people who make 6 figures think it means. For some time she remained with the old woman, but all at once she became very sad and did not herself know what was the matter. At last she found she was homesick. Really? And although she fared 1,000 times better than when she was at home, still she longed to return. Starting to have some Feyre vibes here. So she said to her mistress, I wish to go home to my own people, and, however well off I'm here, I must return. The mistress replied, I'm pleased that you want to go home again, and since you serve me so truly, I will fetch you up again myself. So saying, she took her by the hand and led her before a great door, which she undid, and when the girl was just beneath the doorway, a great shower of golden rain fell and stuck to her so that she was covered over and over with gold. That you must have for your industry, said the old woman, at the same time giving her the spindle which had fallen into the well. Okay, let's hope the girl doesn't do like Hans and get rid of all the gold. Thereupon the door was closed, and the maiden found herself upon the earth, not far from her mother's house. As she came into the yard, the cock sat upon the well side, that means rooster, and called, Cock-a-doodle-doo, your golden maid's come home to you. Then she went in to her mother, and because she was so covered with gold, she was well received. Uh-huh. The girl related all that had happened, and when the mother heard how she had come by these great riches, she wished her ugly, lazy daughter to try her luck. How you think that's going to turn out, folks? So she was forced to sit by the well and spin, and in order that her spindle might become bloody, she pricked her finger by running a thorn into it, and then throwing the spindle into the well, she jumped in after it. Then, like her sister, she came upon the beautiful meadow and traveled on the same path. When she arrived at the baker's, the bread again called out, draw me out, or I shall be burned. I've been baked long enough. But she answered, I've no wish to make myself dirty about you, and so went on. Soon she came to the apple tree, which called out, shake me, my apples are quite ripe. But she answered, you do well to come to me, perhaps one will fall on my head. And so she went on further. When she came to Mother Holly's house, she was not afraid of the teeth, for she had heard of them, and so she engaged herself to her at once. The first day she set to work in earnest, was very industrious, and obeyed her mistress in all she said to her, for she thought about the gold which she would receive. On the second day, however, she began to be idle, on the third still more so, and then she would not get up in the morning at all. She did not make the beds either as she ought, and the feathers did not fly. The old woman was soon tired of this, and dismissed her from service, which pleased the lazy one very well, for she thought, now the gold shower will come. Not the type of golden shower some other people might be thinking. Her mistress led her to the door, but when she was beneath it, instead of gold, a kettle full of pitch was poured down upon her. That's the reward for your service, said Mother Holly, and shut the door. Then came Lazy Bones home, but she was quite covered with pitch, and the cock upon the well side, when he saw her, cried, Cock-a-doodle-doo, your pitchy maid's come home to you. But the pitch stuck to her, and as long as she lived, would never come off again. So I guess the lesson of that one is, 1, don't be a lazy bones, and 2, if you do happen to fall down a well and come across bread that talks and trees, you might just want to make sure you help them out. Until the next time, take good care.